The announcement came abruptly, and it changed the tone of the conflict overnight. The US president declared that Iranian warships had been sunk. Within hours, US Central Command confirmed that naval engagements had taken place, describing contested operations in critical waterways. What had been an escalating standoff suddenly crossed into open maritime combat. The reported strikes were not limited to a single vector. Early indications pointed to multi-domain coordination, air assets, surface vessels, and possibly unmanned systems working in tandem. This wasn't a warning shot. It was operational action. The geography magnifies the stakes. The Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz are not peripheral theaters. They are choke points through which a significant share of global energy flows. Military confrontation here doesn't remain local. It reverberates through markets and alliances. Naval destruction marks a different threshold than aerial bombardment. Airstrikes can be calibrated and compartmentalized. Sinking warships, however, is an unmistakable escalation. Naval vessels represent sovereign territory afloat. Their loss carries strategic and symbolic weight. There's also optics. Destroying ships at sea signals control of a domain, not just the ability to strike fixed targets. The central question now looms larger. Has the maritime arena shifted from supporting role to decisive front in this rising conflict? Naval combat is choreography under pressure. If Iranian warships were engaged and sunk, the operation likely involved a layered combination of platforms. US destroyers equipped with advanced missile systems could have launched precision-guided munitions. Submarines may have deployed cruise missiles from below the surface. Carrier-based aircraft, operating from a strike group nearby, would provide targeting, air cover, and potential anti-ship strikes of their own. Unmanned systems, both aerial and maritime, could extend surveillance and real-time tracking. This is how US naval power projects dominance. Integration. A carrier strike group operates as a floating network. Surface combatants, submarines, and aircraft share sensor data across secure links. Fighters and surveillance aircraft identify targets. Command nodes assign engagement solutions. Weapons are launched from the platform best positioned, not necessarily the closest. Unlike static land targets, ships move. They maneuver, deploy decoys, emit electronic countermeasures, and attempt to break tracking locks. Engaging them requires persistent detection, fire control solutions that adjust mid-course, and coordination to avoid fratricide in crowded waters. Strikes near naval facilities would also demand precision to limit collateral damage, particularly in congested littoral zones. Maritime combat compresses time. Detection, classification, and engagement must unfold in near real time. Sinking a vessel is not just about firepower. It's about synchronized intelligence, targeting discipline, and layered command execution in one of the world's most strategically sensitive waterways. Naval power is not just about prestige, it's about leverage. For Iran, its navy plays a central role in contesting sea control near its coastline. Surface combatants, patrol vessels, and missile boats enable sustained presence in the Gulf and Gulf of Oman. They patrol shipping lanes, escort traffic, and form part of the broader anti-access strategy designed to complicate adversary movement. The loss of warships carries both material and deterrent consequences. Ships represent years of investment, trained crews, and integrated weapon systems. Their destruction reduces patrol capacity, limits maritime escort operations, and places strain on coastal defense coordination. Since the heightened Gulf tensions between 2019 and 2021, Tehran has emphasized naval deterrence as a key pillar of its strategy. Demonstrating the ability to disrupt or threaten shipping lanes was meant to offset conventional disadvantages elsewhere. If multiple vessels have been sunk, the immediate impact may appear tactical, a reduction in hull numbers. But the deeper pressure lies in systemic strain. Maintenance cycles tighten. Remaining assets must cover larger patrol areas. Risk tolerance shifts. There's also perception. Military elites must account for vulnerability exposed in open waters. Public morale may harden, or question resilience. Regionally, maritime losses alter threat assessments. Neighboring states recalibrate expectations of Iran's ability to contest the sea. At sea, visibility equals credibility. And when ships sink, credibility shifts with them. Naval losses rarely go unanswered. If Iranian vessels have been sunk, Tehran's response is unlikely to mirror ship-for-ship confrontation. Instead, asymmetric tools come to the forefront. Ballistic or cruise missile salvos targeting regional military facilities could serve as calibrated retaliation. Drone barrages, low-cost, deniable, and scalable, offer another avenue to impose pressure without committing to full naval engagement. The Strait of Hormuz immediately becomes a pressure point. Even limited disruption of commercial shipping, harassment, temporary closures, increased inspection regimes can ripple through global energy markets. Coalition naval assets escorting merchant vessels could find themselves operating in a heightened threat environment. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps would play a central role in shaping a retaliation. Its doctrine emphasizes layered response, combining maritime pressure, proxy activation, and the strategic messaging to project resilience. Proxy networks across the region introduce additional vectors: rocket fire, cross-border skirmishes, or indirect attacks on allied infrastructure complicate attribution and response thresholds. Domestically, Tehran would frame any retaliation as defense of sovereignty, reinforcing morale and national resolve after visible losses. Cyber operations may also intensify, targeting logistics systems, naval communications, or critical infrastructure in ways that remain below open war thresholds. This is how escalation ladders form. A maritime clash can cascade into missile exchanges, proxy engagements, and cyber confrontation, widening the conflict, even if neither side initially seeks full-scale war. Maritime warfare in the Gulf does not stay confined to the Gulf. For regional states, the risks are immediate. US bases in Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE sit within range of Iranian missile and drone capabilities. Even if not directly targeted, force protection levels rise overnight. Gulf governments must balance reliance on US security guarantees with the fear of becoming retaliation corridors. Commercial shipping feels the impact almost instantly. Insurance premiums spike. Tankers consider rerouting. Freight markets factor in choke point volatility. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a military theater, it is an economic artery. Global naval powers with stakes in regional trade routes are forced to respond. The UK and France maintain maritime presence. China depends heavily on Gulf energy flows. Russia watches the strategic shift carefully. Even neutral deployments can complicate an already dense maritime picture. Within NATO and broader coalitions, cohesion becomes a test. Rapidly unfolding maritime engagements demand coordination, intelligence sharing, and political alignment, all under intense time pressure. Oil markets react as much to perception as to physical disruption. Even limited skirmishes can trigger price spikes and strategic reserve considerations. Meanwhile, proxy actors sense opportunity. Localized instability can amplify through indirect fronts. The strategic climax now centers on containment. Can a naval escalation between two states be bounded geographically, or will the ripple effects pull global actors and energy systems into a broader crisis? The shock of naval confrontation rarely fades quickly. For the United States, sinking adversary warships forces a reassessment of forward basing and carrier deployment doctrine. Presence remains central to deterrence, but operating inside narrow choke points now carries heightened escalation risk. Future posture may emphasize distributed forces, layered defense, and greater standoff flexibility. The larger danger lies in miscalculation. Maritime environments compress decision timelines. A radar misread, a defensive maneuver interpreted as offensive intent. These moments can widen conflict faster than diplomatic channels can respond. Yet crises also generate negotiation pressure. Backchannel diplomacy, third-party mediation, or limited ceasefire understandings could emerge if both sides recognize the cost of sustained escalation. Iran, meanwhile, will study its losses. Naval doctrine may shift further toward asymmetric denial. Drones, missiles, and dispersed assets over concentrated surface fleets. Force regeneration will depend on industrial capacity and strategic patience. Globally, if maritime norms are contested openly, freedom of navigation could face a chilling effect. Alternatively, decisive responses might reinforce deterrence and stabilize sea lanes. The path ahead is uncertain. De-escalation remains possible, but only if strategic restraint outweighs momentum. At sea, uncertainty travels fast, and what comes next depends less on capability than on calculation.